following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas. Dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up, to stand up and fight back. Welcome to Speak Up. I'm Kevin Avard, your host, and today I'm going to be interviewing Dave Wheeler again. He's running for Executive Council in District 5. I asked him to come back on the show because there's we're out there talking with the people, knocking on doors, and there's some reoccurring themes that we're hearing about medical, about the economy, about illegal immigrants. So I wanted to talk to Dave and see what he's hearing. And welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Kevin.
How's the campaign going?
Campaign's going well. Yeah, we've been around the district and continue to go around the district and meet people. It's been good. Now,
I'm running for Senate, and I thought my district was big, but yours is just that much bigger.
1/5 of the state.
One-fifth of the state.
I don't know how the congressmen do it.
It's a lot of area to cover, but you're actually out there. You're meeting people. You're doing a lot of meet and greets. Yeah. What's the most main concern that's on people's mind that you're hearing?
Well, on executive council specific items, which really applies statewide, it's transparency in government. The executive council voted on a $292 million contract without even reading it. And more importantly, the public didn't have a chance to scrutinize that contract either.
And this is recent?
This is recent. It was about 5 weeks ago now. The Medicaid expansion contract, $292 million, the biggest contract the state's ever had, and the councilors had no time to read it. I mean, shame on Governor Hassan for even bringing it forward and expecting them to vote on it without reading it. I mean, it smacks of Obamacare. And we're really learning what was in Obamacare now.
Right. 200, how many?
292.
292. How does that translate into tax dollars? I mean, how do you spread that out? You know, if somebody has a $5,000, property tax, how does that translate? Do you know?
This money today is mostly federal money.
Okay.
For the next 2 years, but after that, we don't know where the money's coming from. We're adding approximately 50,000 people to the welfare rolls with this money, and it just is very scary that, like many federal programs, they give you money to get you started and then walk away.
Now, from what I understand also, that Medicaid, that health care, that level of health care isn't the same as just what you're used to with a regular insurance. It's not the same level from what I understand.
It's more like an HMO.
Yeah.
Where if you're on Medicaid for your health care, you have to pick one of 2 groups now. I believe it started out as 3, and there's only 2 providers, which really concerns me that we're losing even competition within the Medicaid system.
Right.
We just came from a system where you and your doctor decided where you were going to get your care. Now you have to decide, well, I'm going to have to join this group or this group, and it limits people's choices. Mm-hmm. And
I was talking to a lady today. She called me up from Hollis. She was concerned about the pipeline, and I assured her that I'm for property rights. They're worried about this pipeline coming through Hollis, and I said, look, if there's anybody that's for property rights, you're going to hear from Kevin Avard. And it's not the state's level that we'll have to be concerned about. It's the federal level, and we're going to have the courage to fight against the feds. And then our conversation got into the healthcare issue. She said, I did not, we lost our doctor. And how did we translate from the pipeline to that? And it bothered her so much. And then we got into the immigration thing, and I said, you know, again, we got to protect our borders. But these are right, I mean, they blurt them out. They're that concerned.
I think we're facing, you know, in this election especially, we're up against the party of do it this way because I told you so. They claim to be for choice, but when it comes to health care, you can't choose your doctor anymore. Even in the Medicaid program, you have to pick an HMO, one or the other. You can't keep your doctor unless it happens to be with that particular provider. You can't pick your hospital, the one that's closest to your house, especially the Medicaid population who it's very difficult for them to travel distances. And now we have 10 hospitals in the state where they can't get service anymore. They're going to tell you what coverage you can have and what coverage you can't have. It's just going in the exact opposite.
Centralized government. It just seems to be controlling every aspect of our lives. And I think that, again, it's resonating with the people. Can we do something about it?
We need to give, at least in the healthcare realm, we need to give people choices.
Right.
They need a broad spectrum of health insurance plans to choose from. I got a constituent who was in college, and he was paying about $1,300 a year for his health insurance. It was somewhat of a catastrophic plan, but he's young and healthy. He doesn't have many assets. He doesn't really need big coverage. And his plan got canceled, and he had to buy the Obamacare plan, and now what was costing him $1,200 a year is costing him $3,000 a year.
That's huge.
Struggling already to pay the room and board, to pay the college tuition, and then he gets an over doubling in his health insurance. And the effect was, I can't afford another $1,500 for health insurance. I'm not going to get any. I'm just not going to get any. So it not only was the price increase, but it had the opposite effect that the other anti-choice side tells us that it's going to have. Now we have another person who's not covered instead of more people being covered.
This whole idea of transparency and accountability, you know, this president told us you're going to be able to keep your doctor. You're going to be able to they're going to cut the rates $2,500. They're not going to raise taxes, not one dime. Remember the Bush promise?
Yeah.
No new taxes. Well, he came out and he said not one dime. Yeah. The ACA or the Obamacare passed because it was a tax.
Right.
And every time those premiums go up, that means it's a tax increase. And that tax increase is going to skirt Congress, who has the authority to tax. Yep. And so what has happened is the centralized government is it lied to the American people. They rammed something through. Now this Medicaid expansion, which is a part of Obamacare, is being built upon a lie. And the people are being told, you have to accept it. We need people with courage to say enough.
Enough. And I definitely voted against setting up the Obamacare exchanges when I was on the council.
So did I. Yep.
Council before. It is just the wrong direction to go. And we need cooperation, bipartisan from the other side, to do the things that we need to do.
Right.
We need to be able to purchase a cafeteria of plans of health insurance. The young student in college, he needs a simple, affordable plan just to cover him in case something catastrophic happens.
Right.
Some middle-aged people who have some savings, they don't need a first dollar coverage plan. They can afford a high deductible plan. Keep more of their money in their pocket and be in control of their deductible.
How do we reestablish this? Years ago when I used to sell health insurance, and I did, I sold it for Blue Cross and Blue Shield, for Mass Mutual, and I believe Northeast Planning Associates, where we had a number of competitors.
Sure.
A lot of those competitors left the state. One was called the Mega Plan. I don't know if you remember that. It was called the Mega Plan. It was for the small business guys.
Okay.
And it was, it was just affordable until their business grew. Then they can get onto the big boys plan or whatever. And those have all left the state. There was some legislation happened. I don't know if it was Gene Shaheen sponsored a particular bill.
Yep.
And there goes the competition. And went with the competition were the price controls. Because if you have the competition, everybody's lowering their prices so that they want your business. Well, that competition's gone. Now you only have a few providers.
Yeah, and when we were in control and had a Republican governor, we fixed the Gene Shaheen mess up.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as we didn't have control anymore, they messed it up again.
Speaking of mess ups, I read an article by Charlie Arlinghouse with the, I think it's the Josiah Bartlett outlet?
Sure.
Not outlet.
Policy research. Or
They're basically a nonpartisan organization, and they do a lot of research. And there was an article regarding the budget. Mm-hmm. And based on the figures that they could find, not only did they spend the surplus from 2010 through 2012 with the tax cuts that we gave.
And spent the rainy day fund down.
They spent the rainy day fund.
Yeah.
Now there's 102 possibly or more or less. He didn't say less, but at least $102 million deficit that Channel 9, nobody's talking about. Nobody's talking about the figures, and nobody can seem to find out the real answer. You were on the executive council. How is this transparency working?
It's not working too good, and the governor really needs to step forward here and demand that the department heads bring forth an accounting and bring it forth now, unless she already knows and she's not bringing it forward because it's bad news before an election.
Just like Benghazi. Well, we're not going to talk about Benghazi. That's something
Charlie
different.
Ironhouse is a very respectable guy, and I'm sure he's done his homework. And if he says it's a deficit, I'm sure there's a deficit.
I brought this up to a group on Facebook, Dave, and the first thing they threw at him was, "Oh, he's being Charlie's being sponsored by the Koch brothers." Enough, right? So am I, and they're accusing me of being. I don't even give me money. I love it. Give me the money, Koch brothers. I don't know who you are, but they're throwing this mud. It's like,
sure.
Don't you have anything better than that?
Well, when you can't talk about the facts and when you're wrong on the issues, all you got left is throwing mud. We're seeing tons of that in this election.
Right.
Let's talk about health insurance. The other side, the Dems, do not want to talk about Obamacare. It's a huge loser for them. People are angry about it. I had another constituent come to my kitchen table and tell me his story from Amherst. Works for a small company, about 15, sometimes 20 employees. They had to pay part of their health insurance, and the employer paid part of the health insurance. When Obamacare kicked in, the premium skyrocketed, and the employees couldn't absorb their half of the increase, and the employer couldn't absorb his half of the increase. That whole shop now doesn't have health insurance. And it was just devastating to these people. And again, we were promised this was to increase insurance.
Do you think that the whole pattern of this, the delays and all that, are so that they're to hold off all the pain until the elections come? Because from what people, I understand, this whole system hasn't been fully implemented yet.
When the bill first came out, it was thick. I read the whole thing cover to cover. A lot of the Obamacare was left to unelected officials to fill in the blanks. And however, I didn't see anything in that bill that allowed the president to delay the implementation that Congress scheduled, that Congress wrote.
It's lawlessness.
Yeah.
Total lawlessness.
It's just...
Could we imagine if Maggie were to say, well, we're going to delay that law. We're going to delay this law. We're going to delay it again. Now we're going to delay that again 2 or 3 more times. Yeah. I would assume she would be run out of office.
I would hope so.
Yeah. It's not how government works.
No. He's totally abused the executive power, executive orders.
Yeah. There's checks and balances for a reason. Yeah. And I think that's why the way our economy, the way our government works is you have an executive council that holds the governor in check.
Yep.
and you have, of course, a very big legislature, you know, the House and the Senate, and it's all designed to have a weak governor, because an all-powerful governor can wreck the
Which
state.
stems from the colonial days when the colonists thought that the governor was, you know,
Crooked.
was way crooked, way too powerful.
Right.
And so New Hampshire and Massachusetts have executive councils to dilute not only to be a check and a balance on the legislature, but to dilute the power of the governor. You're absolutely right.
And that's in favor of the people, because the government gets its power from the people. Right. You know, this whole idea of you know, we have illegal aliens coming in. We're seeing potentially, maybe, terrorists are coming through our borders. I'm going to give you praise on the show, because the first thing that I think about is, my God, you have been on the forefront, along with J.R. Holt and a number of other state reps, that have been protecting us and our Second Amendment rights. I am so glad that we can carry here in New Hampshire, because if it wasn't for a gun that an owner out in Washington had, where that man cut off a head, what more damage could he have done? He was able to defend himself. I was criticized by the Democrats on their Blue Hampshire or whatever, because I said, be careful, people will be coming across the border and they'll be cutting off people's heads. I said that. They criticized me. Lo and behold, we have lone wolves, or whatever they're called, in our country, and who knows when the next one's going to strike. Isn't it a great thing that we can defend ourselves?
It is, and self-defense is a God-given right, not given by government, but given by the divine, that we need to cherish and make sure that the people, as individuals, continue to have that right to protect themselves. The police can't be everywhere. Government can't protect you. Doesn't do it well anyways.
Right.
So yes, I'm a very strong Second Amendment supporter, and believe that individuals certainly have the right to carry firearms.
Yeah, and you have been on the forefront, and I can definitely applaud you for that. And so, you know, we've talked about healthcare. We talked a little bit about the budget. What are some of the other major concerns that that you're talking about? I know people, they have concerns.
The overall theme with their concerns is they are being told what to do by government. They're being told that the states and down to the local school board, you have to have Common Core. You know, you have no choice in where you send your money to educate your children. You know, if you want your children to go to a private school, or you want your children to be homeschooled, well, you can do that if you want to, but keep sending your school tax in so that we can educate other children. And, you know, there's no tax credit for parents to have choice in education. I think when parents have choice, it enhances quality. I think monopolies overall, you know, foster mediocrity.
Right.
So there's another issue where the party that claims they're for choice is really telling you what to do and giving you no choice. They do the same thing with labor unions. You know, you don't have a choice where you're going to work unless you cough it up and pay union dues.
Right.
You have no choice. Forced unionism.
Forced unionism, right. There's nothing wrong with unions. I don't have a problem with the existence of unions, but I don't want to be forced to join, especially if I work for the state. And that's a problem, because my competitor, obviously, she's got $80,000 to $100,000, and a lot of that's union money. Sure. Well, are the unions looking out for your taxes? Are they looking out for your taxes? Are they looking out for everybody's best interest, or are they looking out for their best interest?
No, I think unions do what unions do.
Yeah.
And
they had their day. I admit it. You know, they've done good, but at the same time, you know, too much of a good thing can turn bad, and there needs to be a balance. Yeah, there definitely needs to be a balance. You were on the executive council when we actually passed the right to work, I believe, in the state.
Yes, I was.
Yeah. And would you still do that, or would you have any modifications to it, or?
The right to work legislation that passed was great legislation.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't eliminate unions. It just said you can't be forced to pay union dues as a condition of employment.
Right.
And I think there's a mindset out there that
It's anti-union.
Well, and
it's not.
people think, gee, join the union because we can get you more money or whatever. It presumes that the union can do better than you can do for yourself. And people need to have that choice.
Right. I guess there's a fact that every place where there is right to work, unions actually thrive.
Yeah. Yeah.
What gives? It's competition.
Sure.
Competition. We are a free country. Let's live by that. We're the granite state.
It kind of reminds me of the market basket thing.
Yeah.
Those employees got what they needed to get without a union. They did it on their own.
Somebody needs to tell Shaheen that, because she was blurting out that it was because of the unions.
Yeah.
Hello, that didn't happen. It was the employees and the marketplace, the community. They said, look, you're not going to do this to us.
Right.
And they got together, and that was a wonderful thing.
Sure.
And they stuck it out, and hey, Artie's back.
Artie's back. The result could have been different if they were only allowed to follow the union leader,
Right.
so to speak.
Yeah.
They did it for themselves. So proud of them.
Yeah.
So proud of them.
And they're thriving.
And the people for supporting them. And the parking lots were bare.
Oh, the first night I went back in there, it was like everybody was just smiles. They were just smiles. We're talking to strangers in the aisles instead of, jockeying for position. It was like, hey, we're back, we did it, yay,
I know my market basket is the closest supermarket to my house, and my wife was just thrilled. I mean, she shopped elsewhere to support the workers, and when they came back, she was happy to be back. Too.
Oh, yeah. I do all the shopping at my house, so I was very happy. I've got my routine. Don't change my routine. I'd rather fight with the little old lady. I'm jockeying for my position rather than going to someplace else. That's my store. How do people reach you and if they want to support your campaign?
They can reach me in a couple different ways. You can go to one of two websites. You can find me at dave@miracleacresfarm.net. That's dave@miracleacresfarm.net. Or you can email me at davewheeler.org.
Great.
And they can get in touch with me, and we can discuss issues just like you and I are. We can certainly could use their help on the campaign trail, putting signs out, and standing at the polls to help me represent them.
We can make a difference, right? We can actually pull this back and bring some sanity back in government.
I think we can. I think we get majorities on the council and back in the House, you can keep the Senate, that we can change things.
Right.
And things are more and more government control. It's just choking the air out of people. It's choking the air out of the New Hampshire advantage. And we really need to buckle down and start fixing these problems.
Like grown-ups.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And,
Thank you for having me.
You have my vote.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching Speak Up. If you have any questions about the Executive Council or about any other topic and you want some real answers, some honest answers, some of these questions can be difficult. And instead of doing that, spinning, as O'Reilly would like to say, you can get a straight answer and an honest politician here. So contact Dave, and thanks for watching Speak Up. This is your voice. And if you want to come on the show, contact me at speakupnh@gmail.com. Thank you for watching Speak Up, and we want to thank our sponsor, Avard, the Dean of Clean, the carpet cleaner in the Nashua area. If you want to contact them, call 603-521-7657. Thanks for watching. Every day, citizens around the country are faced with new dilemmas. Dilemmas that affect them profoundly. Whether it's injustice, discrimination, falling through the cracks, scandals and cronyism, balances of power, ethics, religious freedoms, state versus citizens, and unfunded mandates, and the list goes on and on and on. Welcome to Speak Up. It's directed at those who have fallen through the cracks, and it gives them a voice. It's your turn to speak up, to stand up and fight back.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.